I woke up after some sleep in the middle of the night, and before I was talking about the physiology and how it may affect our behavior. And along with that thought, I thought I should say something about this incident that happened to me. It's about 2 months ago I met this woman. To make the long story short, I was attracted at the first sight. And after our meeting and talk and going visiting her place and having afternoon talk, I felt strongly about wanting to be very close friend with her. Okay, this is when I'm 72 years old. So you can listen to this like a joke by an old man, but for me that was very serious, or if I might say it, it's a sincere feeling I had. So the point is that I felt very attracted, but for whatever the reason at the time, you can call it, this is my mind functioning in an odd way. It was after one and we haven't eaten, and I could have asked her something to eat because she seemed to be very much interested in me as well. But I couldn't read, and I may be just in the state where I'm feeling something, but my mind is also functioning at the same time. So here's a case of the dynamic situation that things change and we need to maneuver well, like a ride the wave of, in the ocean on the surfing, situation changes, you have to make a good judgment, but sometimes this judgment is biased by some other references. In this case, I kind of decided that, well, I didn't know I was deciding on this, but I behaved because it happened, is that no, I can take time because I don't need to rush on this situation. It turned out to be the wrong judgment. I don't want to talk about why it was wrong because that's after the fact. But the point of this is to know what really is happening and behave the best we can. I can think of a few reference points on this episode too. Charlie Munger says the opportunity may not come so easily. When you are prepared and grab the opportunity, just do so. That was about the investment. And to me, the investment decision is similar to how we live our life, to know what's important and what's in his view, and I believe so, a long-lasting benefit that you may capture out of that investment, or in this case, relationship. So the discussion, whether it's investment or woman, relationship, that's all judgment. And it goes through this dynamic web of things, of how the mind works, the brain works, although how heart may function is going on at the same time because we are living being. And that includes certain emotion related to the opposite sex. In this case, 72 years old man with a woman. And I don't mean to mention that she was kind of flashy or anything, but more sincere, and I felt like she was very reasonable and attractive. What happened then is that maybe somewhat connected to the reference I had from, what's his name? a friend of mine, 10 years ago. Stu is his name, and he mentioned that when you are very much almost in love with the woman, don't just behave like you are one. And you have to maintain cool. That's how you deal with it. Compared to that, the reference of Charlie Munger is almost opposite. When the opportunity is there, you need to grab it because it may not come so often. So that's the situation after the fact that I'm basically analyzing. What's the point of analyzing? But still, I want to know who I am and what to do and what I can learn from the experience and how to go about in my life. So it's important for me to look into this, not to regret what happened, but understand what happened and then not to repeat the same mistake. So the point of this is something like this. You, in this case, as I mentioned in the other video about brain and heart, the heart may pop up more like emotion, intuitive sense that the word cannot describe. And if that's the emotion of the criminal, of course you need to check with the brain. For God's sake, we don't want to have everyone going with the emotion all the time because there's something that could go wrong. So we need to have a check and balance system which we develop over time. In my case, okay, you can question my check and balance system may or may not be working. And please understand, I don't mean to sell anything to whoever's listening. I'm just sharing, hopefully, I want to call it truthfully and sincerely about how I feel my life. And this process never stops. And okay, I may be not adept, not capturing the essence of life at this age. But one thing I want to say is that I want to be truthful and sincere. And if I can learn something, even if my bad habit and the habitual pattern may not work well in this society, in this environment, in this situation, but still, I want to make sense out of it. And that's the moment-to-moment practice. And for me to do better, one thing I can do is go deep into it. Well, maybe you don't need to go deeper into it if you are just easy to understand about the situation. But in my case, I'm just putting all things together along with all the other things I mentioned in this video series, the voice memo series. And the point is that sometimes you have to listen to your heart and go with the flow. Sometimes mind will tell you the wrong thing, or you can say quite often. And the references you have can impact you if you just choose few examples and put your mind thinking that must be right and not having a balanced view on that one. So check and balance is not just grabbing one source of information and go with it. I mentioned about the Stu's influence. I also mentioned about the Charlie Munger's being the wonderful reference for me. One says, grab the opportunity when it may not come so often, and if you are prepared. The other says, don't jump into conclusion, especially when it comes to women. You may have to behave cool so that you are not seen as hungry to do something because of your certain feeling. You want to have cool behavior. Those are kind of like opposite view of the world. Now I see that. Now I see that my check and balance, looking from various point of view to assess the situation to figure out what to do. That was not quite good. What it turned out is that this woman is that she found another man just to forever. I feel like it's not long time after I met her. Maybe she had known him. I don't know. But the end result is that I missed the opportunity. That's what I feel, and that's what I think I know, according to the behavior and the fact that I haven't seen her since. In the mail, she said something like she found a guy. And I kind of suspected that could happen. Don't know why. And I suffered tremendously. Actually, even after I met the first time, I wanted to meet her again and again, which I didn't, to behave as if I'm cool. But I believe I had the opportunity, but I didn't. So even I heard her news, I was thinking, well, maybe I blew it. And I feared something that unexpected can happen. So actually, I agonized. Why did I behave or not behave? Why did I behave that way but not some other way? I had good reason why what I should have. I guess reference point about Charlie is that this is his experience of learning how to invest, and for that reason, he can say that when you're prepared and know what's going on, make a judgment and go into it in a big manner. So one point I can take, and everybody's growth pattern is different and experience base is different and the skill to maneuver is different, but it is also related to the experience base and what you learn along the way. You learn the key essence, key view of how to behave in earlier days. You may do well. I'm just saying it for the sake of discussion, and I can make an counter argument because even if you do well, if you become arrogant, you lose that edge. So you have to really inculcate, learn the basics and the principles and the ways and the references and go through it over and over. As I mentioned about talking about Charlie Munger's wisdom and using the case of the pilot training, the 6 key point that I shared that somewhere else, that you have to go through events, references over and over until you master it. And you develop the skill to be prepared and grab the situation when it happens. Unexpected things happen, but it happens in life. And the missed opportunity could be big. I'm sure in case of Charlie Munger, he may have had those missed opportunities. Not necessarily investment, but relationship or anything else in life. I want to educate. I want to keep learning. And I want to keep doing my best. And if I make a mistake, I want to learn the best I can, even if it's hard. And even if I'm at age 72, it doesn't matter to me. The opportunity may never come again. But still, that's what it is about life. like Charlie Munger, you can keep learning the lesson. And he's seemed to be happily living at his age 96 or something. And I can say I'm, quote, only 72. So let's revisit this. Physiology, how it affects us. If we know it well, in the case of Julie, this physiology is the feeling from inside, how it's developing and how you feel about it, intuitive sense, maybe coming from the unconscious unknown, from deep-rooted experience of life. And that's one story. I can listen to that as if it's listening to the heart. The other part of the universe I mentioned in the talk about the brain and heart is that the mind and brain functions pretty much separately from the heart functioning, because one is more coming from the hormone and the physiology and all the other stuff. Animal system, you can even call it. You may not want to admit that that's animal living in you, but there's certain animals we have because we are partly animal as we develop. Evolution of our species connected that we have the animal element, and they even look like us. Some of the monkeys and baboons and whatever. They have two eyes and they walk, they have fingers and whatever. We have maybe 99.3% identical with them in terms of DNA. So we have that element on one part. I'm kind of simplifying it into universe theory. So that's the heart. And the other part is the brain, which is advanced over time. And that helps us to navigate life if we use it as a tool. That's the whole point of discussion I had in the other videos, which I believe is very important. And I may have to revisit myself to capture again and again, because learning is repetition in a way of the key element, and so that you can practice it when the situation happens, whether it's surfing or investment, whether it's a relationship or living our life truthfully. It's always the moment-to-moment practice so far as we live, because that's what it is about life. It's impermanent, it's moving moment to moment. We can be thrown into the difficult situation that requires the judgment. And of course, we cannot be perfect for all the situations. I lived my life even going through this idea of life profile and the black dot exercise and other things I talk about, and use the idea of the mini company, mini me's and all that, as if to have that as the core structure of me, because that has helped me a great deal to navigate my life, not just management and so forth. But we have to not stop. We have to keep changing if needed. As the environment change, we change. And especially when you're at the age of 72, or even if you're at the age of 23 or 53, whatever the case is, the principle, the idea, I think would be the same. Given some differences, but there's a core issues that we can revisit, and we have to revisit because we are changing ourselves all the time. Maybe all the time is not a good expression here, but in principle, we have to be adapting to all the changes, and our behavior, the habitual pattern, may have to change. At least at the core. Well, not at least. Especially at the core, if we commit ourselves to live truthfully and sincerely. That's what I want to address. We need to listen to our heart genuinely. but we have to hopefully connect to the brain to check and balance as well, sometimes in a short time period, and often in the unknown environment because the future is unknown. Given what we are given, I want to say this, that spirit to go through it with a truthful manner, in a genuine manner, and sincere manner, that to me is the core. And I want to maintain the core. That's most important. The scenery changes, the opportunity changes, and we navigate a mishappening of this and that, or joy of so many things that can also come with it. I wish I keep the attitude of doing my best to be truthful and genuine and sincere in the process. I mentioned this in the life profile. That's number one in relation to work, hobby, relationship, health and finance, and maybe many others. It's a subjectivity issue for each person. And that's the best I can think of living this far. And I may go up and down, sideways, whatever. But I have lived with that thinking for at least the last 20 some years. So there's a case of relationship, like in this case, the woman, or issues related to work, daily matters, and all the impact that can come from many crises, including the COVID-19. You know, life is full of that. But the foundation of the process, the core of that, has to be something that we can depend on, we can live with. And if we don't lose that and have the spirit burning at whatever age we may be, I think we are in the right direction to find the destiny to live. I may be a Don Quixote of the modern day, and the result may look funny for other people, like charging to the windmill. But given this opportunity in life, I like to confirm, and if you don't mind, I want to share the view. So we may be able to benefit from having a good reference point and idea and the principles, whatever we call it, to make the most of we have. And to hopefully find the destiny and helping with each other moving forward. Thank you. and